Hey everyone, are you ready for another cookie school class? Everybody come on in the classroom. I'm gonna get my measuring spoon. Today we are going to make Scottish shortbread, and we are going to talk a little bit about shortbread. Okay, everybody holler if you're in the room. I want to see who's in here. Tell me your name and your grade. I want to first ask, has anybody had an opportunity where you started making something and you had to use an alternate ingredient? Because I think that for the first time, a lot of people are having to do that because you can't just run to the grocery store because you need one little thing. You've had to suddenly decide, what else could I use in its place? And that's kind of one of the interesting things about cooking. Sometimes in a pinch, you put in a different ingredient and you decide you might like it better than what it originally called for. So the first thing we're going to do before we get started is wash our hands. Got good hot water. Gonna wash in between my fingers, rub my fingertips in my palms. Remember, you're washing like you're a surgeon about to take out some tonsils. I think they wash all the way up to their elbows. Okay, let's talk about shortbread. There's a lot of different varieties of shortbread. One of the oldest varieties is the one we're going to make today, and it's called Scottish shortbread. And one of the things when I hear the word shortbread that I know is that I am going to not need any eggs. Shortbread is always crumbly, it's always very light. It's one of those cookies that melts in your mouth. And remember, in a previous lesson, we talked about how egg is a binder and it kind of holds all your dough together. So when you're not using eggs, then you know you're going to get a lighter, flakier, crumblier cookie. So in the case of shortbread, notice I have some soft butter here. Can you see how it's soft? I'm going to add that into my mixer. And that's going to be very easy to spin. But guess what? This one is still hard. Can you see that? It was in the refrigerator. I usually take out 2 or 3 pounds of butter at night before I go to bed. And last night I just forgot. So I typically ask somebody in my class, if I forget to get my butter softened, what is one way I could do it? And there's a lot of things going around the internet, like, sit it on top of the oven where the oven is, breathing out warm fumes. Put it on the dashboard of your car if it's July and it's warm in there. Or there's people say put it in the microwave, and I say don't put it in the microwave. Adding heat to butter is one thing that is going to change the butter from a cream product to an oil product. Now, there are recipes that call for clarified butter or that call for butter to be browned, and that's a very similar thing. But if I just put this cold butter in there, it's going to be in some big old chunks. So, in order for me to get it really soft, this is what I'm going to do. Everybody probably has one of these. It's a cheese grater. Have you ever grated any cheese with that? It's got these little sharp knife-like edges right there on the front. And I'm just going to take this stick of butter, since it's still nice and firm, and I am going to grate it. And that's going to give me a lot of surface area. And that is going to soften my butter up really quickly. So if ever you are making cookies or some recipe that calls for soft butter, not melted butter, remember to use your cheese grater, because if you can get a lot of surface area, it will go ahead and bring itself to a soft state in a hurry. I'm going to get my spatula to help me get the rest of that butter off of my shredder. Okay, so you see I've got one nice soft stick and I've got other that is shredded, and by the time I get all of my ingredients ready to mix in here, it's going to be perfectly soft for us. Okay, the next thing it asks for is a 1/2 cup of light brown sugar. Here's my 1/2 cup measure. Well, I don't have a 1/2 cup, but I do have a 1/4 cup and there's 1/4, and there's 2/4, which makes 1/2. I've still got a 1/2 cup, even though I only have a 1/4 cup measure. Also, I want to remind you how brown sugar is a little different than granulated sugar, other than the color, and it's because it involves molasses. And sometimes the molasses will cause this to get hard. So if you just put a slice of bread in there or a 1/2 piece of bread, your powdered sugar, not powdered sugar, your brown sugar will always stay nice and soft. So I am going to just cream my butter and my sugar. Do you think I'm going to have any big lumps? Because one stick was cold and one was room temperature? Let me look. Do you see any big lumps of butter? I don't. I think that's exactly what we were going for. Now, typically, this is the point at which, if a recipe called for eggs, we would put our eggs in there. But remember, we're making shortbread, so there's no eggs involved. Now what we need is 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and since I've got a 1/2 cup, that's 1/2, 1 and 1/2, 2. So I put in 4 1/2 cups, which is the same thing as 2 cups. Well, I'm going to go ahead and add my cookie nip in. Looks like a crumbly mess, doesn't it? That doesn't look like some dough I was going for. So what do? I'm just going to scrape the edges of my bowl in case any of my butter is stuck to the core in the middle. Looks like it's coming together in a soft dough now. Now look at that. That is like soft Play-Doh. It is so light, and I can feel that there are no eggs in here. But I can mold it around, but the big thing is it's going to be light and crispy. Now, I'm going to use my rolling sticks and my rolling pin, and I'm going to use some parchment paper. But if you don't have some parchment paper, sprinkle a little flour on your counter. My oven is preheating right now at 325. I'm going to get my cookie stone. Okay, now for this, you can do any shape of shortbread. If you want to make Easter shapes, or if you want to put some frosting on it, whatever you want to do, you can do that with this light and tender shortbread dough. But since we are calling it Scottish shortbread because it's got the brown sugar instead of white sugar, I am going to do it the traditional way. And do you know how people in Scotland make their shortbread? They cut it with a big circle. That's a pretty big circle cutter. And then they slice it up like it's a pizza. So their shortbread looks a lot like little wedges, little pie wedges. And they serve it frequently at weddings. It's considered good luck if you crumble some shortbread over the head of the bride. I would not recommend doing that in America because brides do not take lightly. They don't think it's funny at all, or even lucky if somebody puts cookies all up on their head on their wedding day. But if you go to Scotland and they are giving away shortbread, I guess it's safe to go ahead and do that. I wouldn't recommend doing it in America, however. Okay, so you see I've got a nice rolled out piece, and I am going to stamp 3 circles in my cookie dough. And then I've got to cut those into pieces. Now, I can tell you that the size that I've got, it's really easy to cut something into 8 pieces because it's 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's a little more challenging to cut them into 6 slices. And that's what I'm going to try to do. Yeah, I didn't do a very good job of it either. Okay. Now, when I get ready to transfer these over to my pan, I'll tell you, when these go in the oven, you want to put some little pricks or fork marks in the top of them so that steam can release. So right now, if you see what I'm doing, I'm just putting these on my stone. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of put some marks. Remember how we did this with the peanut butter cookies? Only now we're just poking little holes. Like you might have seen your mom do this making a pie. And I'm going to take this and put this in my preheated oven. Now, these are some that I made last night. And I want you to see when they come out of the oven, they are going to be so soft and crumbly. You probably need to wait a few minutes before you try to get them off of the stone. I'm going to break one open for you. You see how soft that is? Oh, and it's yummy. So I encourage you to try some different things. What do you particularly like? If you like a little bit of cinnamon in your cookies, you could sprinkle that on the top. If you like a little bit of sea salt, I could also drizzle these with chocolate. But just like this is your traditional Scottish shortbread. I hope that you will make Scottish shortbread for your family and post your pictures on the Cookie School page, because I have enjoyed seeing everybody do their homework and people telling me new things that they tried. Next week, it will be Easter before we get back together again for class. Monday after Easter will be our next class, and we are going to make a pickle pasta. So if you like pasta and you like pickles and you like string cheese, you're bound to like this recipe. So we will put all that out there on the Cookie School page for you to see so that you can join us and make some pickle pasta for your family. See you next time.